From the people of manufacturing, 6'6", 200 and pounds. It's the fancy new guy, Greg Serio.
What's up, FNG Nation? Greg Serio here, your fancy new guy. First topic of conversation today is, where do I want to die and why? Well, I've always wanted to die in space because it seems like an attainable goal. Whenever I think of visions and goals and everything, why not think big? If we have a huge universe out there and we're just on Earth, I feel like maybe there's a home somewhere else. I plan on getting to the death camp of space simply by building my own rocket if I have to. That's right. I'm just going to build it myself. It might take me a while, but I will get there. I know how. My starter kit rocket would look somewhere between like a 1973 Pinto and a cross between some of the Tron vehicles. There would definitely be some sort of magnet somewhere, whether it's just like a magnet that I put on there saying like welcome home. I feel like my death scene would look like something like I actually found the extraterrestrials and then they thought I was the invader. Well, an alternate ending would be I find the Tesla floating out there with the SpaceX suit, and then I somehow manage to get in that while rescue comes my way because I end up in some sort of hibernation deep sleep. And then I would inevitably like wake up in this Tesla that's been just floating out there, realizing help is not coming, continue to float into the abyss, also known as our universe, just to have my death broadcast to the entire galaxy. I feel like that's a good conclusion to this story. A lot of my friends ask me what some of my worst interviews were like. There's so many of them to choose from. I figured I'd choose this one though, because it's one of my early ones that might add value to somebody. So no one told me and taught me that I should show up to an interview dressed nice. So I showed up in plaid shorts, a black t-shirt with a skull on it, and then it said rehab across the forehead. I got hired because I was the only one with a valid driver's license. Thanks, Pasco County. So was it that bad at the end of the day? No. Did I leave a memorable, lasting impression? Yes. So I'm sure that you guys out there have a much more embarrassing story than me, and I'd love to hear about it. Because I have more, but that's just the one I chose for this video, because I want to hear from you. What does your worst interview look like? Go ahead and tell me about it in the comments below. Subscribe to the Fancy New Guy on YouTube. High school robotics, let's talk about that one. I've had some amazing experiences that ended in success. And success is relative sometimes, but lessons are learned. And the best lesson is when I was trying to give a motivational speech to the students, and then one of them just randomly farted. So if you're the farter in your class and you know who you are, just let it roll. Just get it out. Have fun. Because you're going to laugh while you're doing it, so we can all laugh together, and we're ready to learn because now we're happy because you farted in front of everyone. His name rhymed with Atch. My grandpa calls him Traps because it's fart spelled backwards. The highlight of my bouncing / door guy career is when I got to interact with this amazing human being on wrestling night. For about a year, this Florida Championship Wrestling wrestled at this club, and every week there was always people that wanted to get in for free. Everyone wants to try to hustle the door guy. So he goes, I'm on the list. And I said, what's your name? I'm Dusty Rhodes. And at the time, I didn't really put that together because I didn't really remember who he was, but then I remembered it all came coming back to me that I talked to this legend, Dusty Rhodes, a legend of wrestling, like he was some schmuck Pasco County patron trying to get in for free. I learned quickly that that was a horrible idea. Really bad. Because for the next several months, he came in the back door, bypassing me altogether. Because I pissed off Dusty Rhodes, because I questioned he was Dusty Rhodes. In his fanny pack glory, I will never forget that moment of my Bourbon Street career, because wrestling is Pasco, Pasco is wrestling. Thank you, Pasco, for all the memories that I will never forget. One of my favorite people that I worked with in his shop, his name was Gus. Oh, Gus. Also known as Constantino Gymnaeos. He went by Gus, which was easier. What we did was update a ton of antiquated stuff. I'm talking, this guy had bigger cojones than anyone I've ever met, and he would go talk so much trash, and I would help him back it up. Very long nights, but my most memorable moment was when I was traveling and Gus called me. We just got a new drill for him. It was supposed to be working out great, but they didn't use test material. So he calls me at 11:30 at night while I'm on the other coast of Florida, 3 hour or so drive, screaming at me, "How could you scrap this $15,000 part?" And I was like, "I'm in Daytona. I didn't scrap anything. What are you talking about?" So apparently, Gus grabbed our tool, slapped it in. Luckily, it wasn't our fault, because someone else ran it and didn't listen to the instructions. But nonetheless, the 11:30 o'clock at night phone call with the subsequent drive back to Tampa is something I'll never forget, because Gus also, as much as I love him to death, I also didn't want to piss him off. So I made sure that everything that he would go talk about, I made sure I backed it up for him, which helped fine-tune the skills that I'm able to use today. So without Gus and all those memories of late-night failures and awesome crying, I loved going to your wedding, my man, and I miss working with you on the shop floor because it was always exciting, always action-packed, and man, did we get some stuff done. Ever been fired from a job before? Well, I have, and I'm here to tell you how to get past that initial sting. It does sting, but the more it happens, the more used to it you get. So this fancy new guy's story started and ended at a company called Fastenal, an industrial and construction supply company where I got my start as a true FNG. I started there because of wrestling, oddly. The promoter referred me to a job, and I had that fancy driver's license that no one else in Pasco had. So naturally, I got the job by default. And through years of trial and error and failure, I made it to the top of what I wanted to do. That job is a metalworking specialist. Man, I loved it so much. I got to travel everywhere and see new manufacturing plants and learn new stuff and meet cool people. Over here, I thought I was, hot stuff, and I was what really made that company grow. Well, it turns out I wasn't. I've learned a lot since then, because if you've seen Jerry Maguire, then it was something similar to how I wrote my letter. Well, I wrote a letter with the intention of conveying a message I wanted them to succeed in my absence. It wasn't taken that way. Where my lack of experience and true FNG young man attitude, I ended up shooting myself in the foot pretty hard. Because that was almost 3 years ago. And I'm what you'd call a millionaire in theory, but my bank account wouldn't agree with that statement. In hindsight, everything's 20/20, right? So when you look back at things, you can see where you went wrong. My naive 27-year-old at the time attitude towards life was wrong. I may have got there a lot faster had I properly conveyed the right message to the right people, instead of pulling that Jerry Maguire and making them extremely angry at me. So what's the lesson that could save you years of heartache? Maybe just communicate better with your boss. See if there's a bridge that you can build instead of destroy one, thinking that you could just go do better, faster, stronger somewhere else. There's always gonna be another mountain. You're always gonna wanna make it move. It's always gonna be an uphill battle. A very popular question has been posed to me, and it's, who would play you in the Fancy New Guy movie? Easy. Ryan Reynolds. Well, Ryan Reynolds is just amazing at everything he touches. They should call him King Midas, because everything he touches turns to gold. The movie Green Lantern kind of sucked, but because of Ryan Reynolds, it was actually watchable. And I believe that maybe he met his current wife, Blake, there, which, watch out, honey, I'm coming. For last Halloween, I was dad bod Ryan Reynolds. That's not a joke.